During the duel phase in Pokken, if you hold up or down, your character will enter a high or a low stance. Every character gets some special effect from doing these stances. For instance, Blaziken's high stance counters weak mid-level projectiles, while Suicune's greatly reduces the time on debuffs. If you'd like to find out more about these stances for each character, I recommend you watch Shopa's video that describes all of them. In this video, I'll be going in depth on Blaziken's high and low stance, and when you can use them to counter on the entire cast. As a side note, anything that I say can be low stance by Blaziken can also be done by Machamp, Mewtwo, and Shadow Mewtwo. They can also be completely avoided using Chandelure and Gengar's high stances. If you would like to skip to a Pokemon in particular, just click their image on the screen. Against Blaziken, you can low stance 2Y and 2X. You can also high stance high jump kick, although you cannot high stance EX high jump kick as it pierces counters. For Pikachu, you can low stance 2Y and 2X. You can also low stance 5A, both uncharged and charged. On Lucario, you can low stance 2Y and 2X. You can high stance uncharged Aura Sphere, but you cannot high stance charged Aura Sphere. When Lucario is in burst, you cannot high stance any charge of Aura Sphere. Against Gardevoir, you can low stance 2Y and 4Y. You cannot low stance 2X, however, as it pierces counters. For Pikachu Libre, you can low stance 2Y and 2X. On Sceptile, you can low stance 2Y and 2X. You can also low stance the growth of the plant on his mid-air A attack, including while he's in burst. Against Gengar, you can low stance 2Y, 2X, 2A, and projectile on his charge A. You can high stance 5A, but not charge 5A. When Gengar is in burst, you can low stance 2Y, 2X, 2A, and projectile on charge A. However, you can no longer high stance 5A, both uncharged and charged. For Machamp, you can low stance the first part of 2X. And that's it for Machamp. Moving on. With Braixen, you can low stance 2Y and 2X. You can high stance 6Y, 5A, and charged 5A. However, when Braixen has Sunny Day, you have to low stance the first hit of uncharged 5A and high stance the second. The timing to do this is pretty tight, but I found that low stancing the first hit and blocking the second works very well. You can still high stance both projectiles at fully charged 5A during Sunny Day. Against Chandelure, you can low stance 2Y, 2X, and projectile on uncharged and fully charged 5X. You can high stance 4X, both uncharged and fully charged. Now unfortunately, Blaziken's high stance is not as good as it could be versus Chandelure, since all his Pokken moves pierce counterattacks. Seriously, who thought this was a good idea? This means that 5A, both uncharged and charged, and his mid-air A attack cannot be high stance because they pierce counterattacks. For Suicune, you can low stance 2Y, 2X, and you can high stance 5A. On Weavile, you can low stance 2Y, 2YY, and 2X. With Charizard, you can low stance 2Y and 2X. Against Garchomp, you can low stance 2Y, 2X, Earthquake, and his counterattack, but you cannot low stance a fully charged counterattack as it pierces counters. On Mewtwo, you can low stance 2Y, 2X, and his counterattack, but again, you cannot low stance a fully charged counterattack as it pierces. On Shadow Mewtwo, you can low stance 2Y, 2YY, 2X, and Earthquake. A link to the Google document with all the characters and the moves that can be low or high stance is in the description. As a final note, I only stated the burst modes where the characters had a different move or an ability was no longer able to be stanced. If I did not state them, it's safe to assume that the same moves can still be low or high stanced. Thanks for watching.